here in the office and a few of you out on the web and whoever watches this in the future. So I'll get to that here in a second. So if you go to our website and you go to this event page, at the bottom you'll find a demo data link, which is a zip file with some of the demo data we'll be working with today. If you don't already have a code editor, I would recommend installing either Notepad++ or Atom, that you can use if you don't have admin rights to your computer. It's at the bottom, demo data link. So yeah, if you just copy over all that presentation stuff. Okay. And then do you have a HTML editor or code editor or anything on there already?
It says Safari cannot download this file.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, then just copy over that Notepad one too, both those folders. You could if you go into CartoDB, if you don't want to use our data, you can use some of the public data.
Okay, that's fine.
They have a bunch of public data sets you can use.
Okay.
So I'll give everybody a second to get set up. We could just go around the room and do introductions and what's going on. With the handful of us that are here. Again, I'm Malcolm, OVRDC Transportation Planning Coordinator.
What's going on, Malcolm? Tilt down this.
Oh yeah, great.
I'm Nick Kroenke, the Research Planning Specialist, OVRDC and GIS guy.
And what's new in your office, Nick?
Malcolm here is working on some parcel data and seeing what we can do with that. Doing infrastructure mapping here of Piketon, just completed Wellston within our region, and seeing what our open source applications are. So Leaflet and CartoDB are really good for that.
Cool.
I'm Kyla Bryant. I'm the GIS person at Gallia Rural Water, and we're currently re-GPSing all of our meters the same as last time. We have about 500 done right now.
My name is Allison. I'm a graduate student at OU, and I study geography, and I'm also getting a GIS certificate there. So I'm looking at maybe going into GIS for cartography after school, hence the reason online mapping.
All right. In your office, Nick.
Malcolm here is working on some parcel data and seeing what we can do with that. Doing infrastructure mapping here of Piketon, just completed Wellston within our region, and seeing what our open source applications are. So Leaflet and CartoDB are really good for that.
Cool.
I'm Kyla Bryant. I'm the GIS person at Gallia Rural Water, and we're currently re-GPSing all of our meters the same as last time. We have about 500 done right now.
My name is Allison. I'm a graduate student at OU, and I study geography, and I'm also getting a GIS certificate there. So I'm looking at maybe going into GIS for cartography after school, hence the reason online mapping.
All right, great. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for making the trip, you too. And thanks for watching, whoever was watching on the live stream there. So Web Map Essentials, just real quick, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. I'm not gonna really go over much of those, but that's basically what is involved in your typical web map. So how do web maps work? We'll just look at some of these links here real quick. In general, when you are looking at like a Google map or other web maps, the background is usually made up of map tiles, which are basically images that have been cut up into squares. So your first map tile is set up at like 0, 0, 0. And then as you zoom in like one level, you get this sort of like file structure where 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0. And then as you zoom in again, zoom level 2 contains 16 tiles where the first one contained 4, and so on and so forth. Also, some map elements on top of the map tiles are drawn using either SVG or Canvas, which are both just HTML ways to draw in HTML. There's also vector tiles, which basically, instead of pulling images from a server somewhere, you pull the data from a server and then you draw that data using CSS and JavaScript. And so the data, for example, in this map, there's no map tile server. There's just a server pushing out the XY for all of the things that you see here. And then the website or the browser is actually rendering all that data. So there's no actual map tiles in this example. This is just all done straight via the browser. And there's some real cool, if you go through and look at this website, they have some real cool ways that you can render the data live. And we're sort of using an implementation of this in some of our web maps, but not exactly. We're not using this this map here, but. And then client side versus server side, just real quick, same kind of thing. Client side would be all of your analysis, rendering happens on the browser. Server side would be you have ArcGIS server running somewhere. You send it directions and what to do. It does some things and then pushes back data or maps or map tiles or back to the browser. And most of the maps that we do are actually a mixture of both of those because we're still using the map tiles for the base maps, and then the files, like the layers on top of that, are client side rendered via the browser. Real quick, we'll look at some of these examples of some really cool web maps. I think that's this website here. This is just this is like one of the coolest web maps I think I've ever seen. This is this Land Rover map. How do I turn this sound off? I'm not sure how to turn the sound off if I can, but it's just a cool web map that implements Leaflet. It's using the marker cluster function, and with some real cool visualizations on top of that. South Carolina is using Leaflet for their well mapping, and this is all client side. So the map tiles, what you see underneath here, are all just Esri map tiles. Again, just images, but the data points are drawn dynamically in the browser. They're loaded into the browser and then drawn in the browser. And then this MapGeo is a company, or AppGeo is a company that has this product called MapGeo, which uses CartoDB as a backend for all the data, and then just a bunch of custom SQL queries and everything on top of that, and custom CSS and interface. And so they have this real cool, I don't really know what you'd call it, sort of like an auditor site, but you can do all kinds of stuff with it. I'm not going to go too much into it. You can look at these later. But you can search parcels and extract all kinds of data from that map. So we'll start with the CartoDB. We'll go get the sample data and upload it to CartoDB, or you can use some of the data that they have online. We'll create a basic map using filtering, styling, pop-ups, map options. We'll look at doing a density map, and then we'll look at some of their analysis tools, and then again connect a public data set. So given that, I will let
why don't you talk a little bit about CartoDB, what we're using?
Yeah, yes. Okay, so sure, I'll put our basic trail map up here. So what CartoDB is basically a place where you can drop a bunch of data, or again, they have publicly hosted data. And then you can style that data and very similar like ArcGIS Online, something like that. The web interface is really easy to use. The one thing about it is the web interface is just like a small amount of what you can do with CartoDB. Basically what it is it allows you to store all your data and then access it through SQL queries and style it dynamically. Like for example, that map geo page. We're just going to get into sort of the basic, how to make a basic map on there. But if you really want to get into the advanced functionality and use it to its full functionality, you'd have to be writing your own code and SQL queries and stuff like that. So to get started, first we'll go to your CartoDB account, and I'll go to mine here. See if it will remember my login. And we're going to upload some data or connect to a data set. So upload the data is real easy. All you do is you just drag and drop. If you go to data sets, you can just we'll upload these to, see if we can upload 3 at a time here. Something like 3. We'll upload the lands data. So if you don't have data to upload, you can just connect a public data set. So
Is that the one of the files that you gave us was?
so if you look in, so if you look in webmap intro and then data, there's 4 files in there or 5 files in there. You want to upload the ODNR lands, the ODNR trails, the 2014 Torn, and the Ohio counties. And you just drag and drop those and they should upload in one by one. So I will do that. Already have the, and I've already done this, so I'm not gonna go through all those. Did you find some public data to use?
Yep, it's loading now.
Okay. Let me see if she's got hers going.
Let's see what. So these ones will like these ones will stay static. Once it's uploaded, then you have to manually update it. So any file you put on there, you have to go through and update.
Should I go back and try different?
So you drag it into data
So if you go to data sets,
First thing it shows you is a map.
okay, now drag and drop to say just one of those. Not that one.
And see if you'll check out your ship, you upload it, it kind of corresponds.
Drag
It's
it
really
into
good.
like this
So
part.
Okay.
here it has a tornado pad. So
Oh, you go into data sets again. Okay. Or maximize that, see if there's like an upload. Just maximize that.
all right, I'll switch that.
Go to.
data sets?
Okay, so that's gonna be a lot like the trail data.
There we
So
go.
you'll probably be able to use it.
That's
Okay.
for the page.
Okay.
So yeah, you want to be on the connect data sets page, which looks like I already have some, so maybe it's different for me. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's their public data. Your data sets.
Okay, I think I put.
Okay, so you get the trails in there. That's good.
I just put all 4.
I think it'll just do one at a time.
I wonder how.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I tried dragging.
And then click connect. Let's see what that. There it is. It's uploading it.
Okay, so I had to put each one in and then upload it and.
Yes. Now go click on here to go back to your data sets. Now it should show, go to data up on here. Yeah. Okay, you've got the trails. Now now see if you can drag over those parts or ODNR lands. Yeah, there you go. Once you have one, I guess it does it differently. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you get one going?
Mhm. Yep.
Is it
She had the tornado path that we looked at yesterday.
Oh yeah.
She can adjust that like as we do.
Yeah. So once you have the, we'll start with the ODNR lands and trails. So once you have, say, a linear data set or a polyline, if you click on that data set, usually it'll bring you right to the page when you upload it. Here you can see the attribute table. One thing about CartoDB is you can't do field calculations like you can in ArcMap. You can edit fields and you can add fields and add columns, but you can't do like mass field calculations.
Okay.
So basically your data has to be pretty much set up once you bring it in here. Now what you can do is if you have a paid account.
It's not shown on the projector.
What, this isn't? Yeah. If you have a paid account, you can, this thing doesn't always work good. You can link a data set to CartoDB, whereas it will sync automatically. If you link it to a Google Drive account or a Dropbox account or something like that, it will sync automatically. Yeah, this thing doesn't work very good.
How much is an account to do?
They have a variety of pricing plans. We just still have the free plan, but they have a variety of pricing options. You can go on there and see. They changed it to make it a little bit easier. It used to be sort of complicated, but now I think there's like basic. There's just a few. Well, we can look at that real quick. Let's see, if we go to CartoDB, scroll down. It's this HDMI cord. It doesn't work very good. You go to pricing. Yes, they have these monthly rates, and it shows you can go on to compare all plans and features. This is just at cartodb.com/pricing,
Okay.
and then pricing features. You can compare all the different versions, but basically we just have the free account. We don't actually use it all that much, but it is really nice to do something to do some sort of simple analysis. And there's some things you can do in here. Yeah, we didn't get this. We didn't get a new computer, man. That are just easier to do. For example, our web map, our crash map. It's like sort of hard to do this even in ArcGIS Align or in Leaflet, but to do it in CartoDB is super easy. So if you go to like this crash map, we made this in CartoDB, and just to make these crash clusters, it's just real easy and it's sort of real simple. And we're gonna make a cluster map here in a little bit. Okay, so you have the trails, everything loaded up. So let's go to your data sets and then click on whatever data set you loaded up, say trails. And then it'll bring you to the data view, and then you can click over to the map view. But actually what you wanted, which will bring you to a map, but what you really want to do is click on visualize, because that will create a map that you can then share out. So yes, you want to create a map. Then it will bring you to this interface here. And then this toolbar on the right has all kinds of, you can do SQL queries. This is your little styling wizard, the little paintbrush. the little pop-up window is your info window pop-ups and what happens when you mouse over the things. You can actually style it with your own CartoCSS if you really want to get fancy. You can adjust the legends, and filters automatically filter stuff as if you don't want to feel like getting down and dirty with the SQL queries. So we're just gonna, what do we do? Just this.
Yeah, so start with the filters.
Let's see. Well, you can put like some label text, for example, if you want on the trails. You could say, you could add the description of the trails. But we'll take those off. And then if you want to add another layer, want to add the parks layer, so you can add another layer to this. You can add that same layer again, because really those layers in your map are just visualizations of a certain data set. So you could use the same data set and have multiple visualizations of that same data set. So we're going to go ahead and add the ODNR lands, or if you want to just add those tornadoes again, you can just add them again, and you can style them differently.
Okay.
Now with these, same kind of thing, we're going to change these. We'll make them green. And then the order in your little legend over here is the order at which they'll draw. So right now the lands are drawing over the trails. You want to change that, so you can drag this down underneath the trails. So now we have a basic map that has trails, it has parks, doesn't really do anything else at this point. Go around the interface a little bit. You can add text elements in here. You can preview the map. You can export a static image of the map. You can change the base map. Or are you following it on there?
Okay, so
Yeah.
having,
I'm going to see if I can get this thing working.
I can't see what, oh, wait, are these the?
So those are the different layers you brought in.
Not support.
Okay, so,
The trails are in there twice.
okay, so I just.
Yeah, so what it does is it like reworks it, so it kind of hides
I
more.
couldn't, yeah, I couldn't see it
Mhm.
moving down here. Okay, so how do you change it?
So then so if you want, so let's zoom in the trail so you can see it's like that. And actually, the connections. You like scroll wheels and then which gets the different
So I just click on.
Didn't this
one.
happen the last time?
It did. I was just thinking that you guys have the you have full luck.
Well, this HDMI on this computer just doesn't work very good.
Okay, got it.
The guys send me stuff at work, and I'm just like,
At least there's.
they're like, here, show
Brent
Brent and Linda this, and I'm like, I don't even know what it is.
Okay, so
I'll
this
show
is
them
what
when I
you're
get back.
saying, that you can drag the,
To reorder the layers.
Yeah, like right here on this thing.
got it, okay.
Oh, I just moved him again. Get back here. There we go. And then we want to put some pop-ups. So if you go into your trails layer, you go into the info window, which is this little thing here, this little window thing. It has all your fields on here. You can just turn these on. So we'll turn on name and description, and you can drag these around. You can drag park. We'll put park at the top. And then it updates. There's no like real save button on this. It just updates automatically. So if you click now, it has park, name, description. If you click on your little info window.
You can add that too for both clicking or just hovering over it. So maybe if you want to click on the trails to see the name, you can do that. If you want to hover over the park to see the name, you can turn on hover for the park.
Yeah.
So does yours have, when you click to turn things on, does it have a little box that says title?
Yes. And so what that does is it turns off whether or not you want to see the title of the field in the pop-up or the hover window.
Oh, okay.
And you can and you can change that. If you just click on this, you can change this title. I'm not exactly sure. You can completely adjust like the HTML. If you want to click over here in this little change HTML, and you can completely adjust the HTML if you want.
Okay.
But it's easiest. Sometimes it's easiest just to use their little auto window. Let's see. So yeah, your map options. I sort of forgot to go over these. This gives you, if you want the title of your map, whatever your name is up here, it'll put in this section here. You can have a description. The search box is just like address search, like Google address search. It's not actually searching the field, the features. It's just searching like Google address or whatever. Share options, which will allow people to share the map out. Scroll wheel zoom, for some reason it's off by default. I'm not sure why. Layer selector, if you have a bunch of layers in your map and you want to have people be able to turn them on and off, you can have that option. And then full screen. You can also change the base map. They have a bunch of different ones. So it's real sort of like basic. Again, your data is stored in a GIS database that they're hosting for you. So you can do all kinds of stuff with it. This is just sort of the basic. Their interface just gives you a basic overview of what to do. And let's look back again at our trail map. This is the trail map that we made. It's real basic. Again, similar to the one we just put together. But now let's do something more interesting. Let's go back to our data sets. And
Go to a different one now.
yeah, see if you can go to link a new data set and go to data library. So we're going to use the tornado ones, but if you don't have access to our data, you can go on to storm, click on the storm next, and you connect that. Is that working?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you can do, or a couple things you can do, is you can do some analysis just based on, just straight from from their interface here. So we're on this 2014 torn data set. We will go into here. And sometimes it analyzes it for you and gives you automatic maps that it may think you'd like. So you can go show. So it has animated heat map, time, another heat map, all these various different maps you can do. So one of the things we'll do is show you the this torque on day, which is, it has the ability to take a field. It can be just the ID field or any number field and do a animated map that does those sequentially. So if you have an actual timestamp field, which is actually I found very hard to format correctly, it'll follow that timestamp, but you can also just use your number field or your lat long if you just want to have some cool effect.
Okay.
Like for example, in that storm events,
Mhm.
if you go to, the way you get to this is if you go to this little paint, and you'll know that you can do one of these animated maps. You click on if you have this torque option, so like scroll over up there, keep going, and then, yeah. And then it'll ask you what you want do it on, and so we'll do, now this isn't real, you know, because it's just the ID field, but I think these IDs are actually in order of when they were updated, so
Okay.
it'll still work. And then just click play.
Okay, cool.
And then you can adjust you can do all kinds of adjustments with these. You can adjust the steps that it takes. You can adjust the resolution, which in this case would be the number of days. So you can do all kinds of adjustments with these torque maps. But as whether or not they serve a good analytic purpose, you know, I'm not sure, but they're very cool animations, that's for sure. But one thing you can do is you can do, now this doesn't have the animated heat map option, it did before.
Your trial.
Oh, here we go, animated. So if you click on the heat map, you can do an animated heat map, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
And you can do cumulative too on the torque maps, where it will slowly populate the whole map. So let's do something like this. So see, it's like populating the tornado events over time.
That's interesting.
It's very cool. But something that serves a little more analytical purpose is if you go back to your little style wizard, the little paintbrush, and you click all the way to the right. These are kind of like the new fancy thing in GIS, these hex maps. It basically takes a heat map to looking at it a little bit differently. And again, here you can change the number of buckets or levels that it will look at. So and I just like to adjust these just depending on however they look and what scale I want the map to be at. So let's zoom out. Again, these are tornadoes, so that map isn't really going to be good. If you change the polygon size, it will adjust what the map is going to look like as well. So let's see, get this to where. If I can get it to where I want it. Go back to 5. So you sort of have to play around with it to find, let's just go to the one that we made already. So for example, this was that same data set, and it's real easy to see where the hot spots are by using this sort of hexagon map. And it depends, again, what level you want to view the map at, how big you want your polygons to be, and things like that. Let's go back to this page. And you could also do intensity maps. Again, same kind of thing. Wherever these circles overlay, it becomes darker. Heat maps. The crash map I was showing you earlier is a bubble map. These bubble maps are based on a column. So if you have, for example, let's see, I think this is economic. Let's do economic loss. Yeah, I think this is like the economic loss in millions. So the larger the bubble, the more the loss. The crashes had a field in there, number of crashes for a 0.1 mile radius or something like that. That way it'll make the bubbles bigger or smaller depending on how many of that is in that point data set. I don't know if that storm has like an intensity, some sort of intensity field.
Oh, you mean?
Like if you click on, let's click on bubble. Oh yeah, see there are no fields where it'll do that. But you can which is cool. Now, if you have a public account, all the data and all your maps will be public facing. So if you didn't want to have public facing maps for whatever reason, you'd want to get a paid account. But I usually use this for anything that's going to be public facing anyways. And the data limit is fairly large for a personal account.
250 megs.
Yeah, which we have a bunch of maps on here and we've only used 100 megs, and that's mainly because we have some parcel data on here, which is taking up a lot of space. And there's a couple other things I wanted to show you. So let's look at some of these. Oh yeah, the Chloropath map. So let's go back to our data and go to, did you upload the counties?
No, but I can't.
Yeah, go ahead and upload that and we'll click on that. Now, do you have a polygon? Go back to your data sets. That's where you can change the name of that. Just click on that little back arrow. It's sort of hard to do.
There we go.
And then go to data sets again. Yeah. See if there's one. Just look for something that would be like a click on that New York counties and connect that and see what they have. Some of the public data set, it doesn't have a lot of the whole data with it. It's just like the polygons.
Okay.
But some of them do. You just got to kind of play around and see what. Click on their data view. See if they have.
Sorry, I know there's like a glare.
Do they have the population in there? But you can do name.
Okay.
So I'm going to go up to that map view. Do that upload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then if you're in the Ohio counties, for example, or another data set, again, it'll analyze it and show you different ways to do it. We're going to close that. And you can create a real simple category or Chloropath map. We'll use one that will actually make sense, which is population density, which is, again, under your little paintbrush. Go to pop 13 square mile or pop 10 square mile. And there you go. Simple. It's that easy.
This was census data.
This is probably ACS 2013 data, I believe. And then on yours, what did it make it on? County FIPS. It doesn't really matter because just for example, but if you had a real field in there, that would make sense.
Okay.
But, and then once you say you're actually doing this for real for a job or whatever, all you do is you click visual. Well, you'd make sure you want to click visualize and you can redo whatever. I was on map view, which I wanted to be on visualize. And then you just publish, click this little publish link in the corner and you can send out the link to somebody. You can, has a code to iframe it into a web page.
Okay.
Or if you want to get the visualization for using it in their JavaScript, it gives you that as well. So, and it was like, let's say you gave somebody this link, this is what they would see. They would see the CartoDB sort of interface, but a little hack is if you just do embed map, you can just get the full screen map, which is cool. And I didn't set up any pop-ups on here, and it gives you this nice legend. So
have you tried, I was just playing around with the ArcGIS on the map.
mm-hmm.
Have you played with that and do you have like a preference of this versus that?
Well, I would say it just depends what you're going to do. We're going to have our next user group meeting is actually going to be even more extended workshop. And it's going to be on ArcGIS Online and setting it up for like organizational uses. But I would say if you wanted to make a simple map like this, it's almost easier to do it in CartoDB than ArcGIS Online in a way.
Okay.
But there's more, I think there's more templates on ArcGIS Online than there are here. But I would say the ArcGIS Online is for the more savvy user. Then I think a lot of people that use CartoDB are like, trying to think of who, like reporters, you know, like USA Today type situations like that. But at the same time, you could have that map geo page, which is like very complicated, written on top of CartoDB. So, but to make a simple map like this, like, yeah, you could do it in ArcGIS Online, but in some ways this is easier, I would say. What would you say?
By far, yeah.
By far. I mean, if you want to do something like the story map, there's no like story map immediately. There is a story map sort of plugin, but you know, some of the things on ArcGIS Online might be easier.
I just think the visualization is a lot better too in CartoDB.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say. And I don't know that there's a torque type animated visualization in ArcGIS Online. Is there? Not sure. But again, at the next user group meeting, we'll be talking a bunch more about that. But for sort of like basic maps like this, it's real easy to do in CartoDB. And what I like too is that you have the ability to take your visualization and put it into a CartoDB or a Leaflet web map that you're making. You can do the same thing with ArcGIS Online, but in some ways I just find this a little bit easier to use.
It seems a little bit more straightforward.
Yeah, it's very much, I think ArcGIS Online is more an extension of the ArcGIS desktop. So it's a little more complicated and you can maybe do more with it even in the web interface, even though you can do all kinds of stuff with this if you want to do the coding yourself. But yeah, this is definitely just to make a simple map and get it shared out quickly. It's real easy to do.
That's what I was thinking.
One thing you can do if you have the map the way you want it, even if you have a paid account, you can change the privacy. But if you don't have a paid account, they're all public. But you can lock the visualization so you don't accidentally like delete it or change it, which just means that when you go to your map page, you can't just immediately edit it. It'll be down here in your locked maps. It's just a way to like, these are like our completed maps basically. It's the way that I think of it. Yeah, that is basically. Any other questions on CartoDB before we jump ship and get even more complicated?
No, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's really support. It's really setting up the data first and making sure you have all the fields that you want. And again, if you have a paid account, you can sync data up. So you could have data like stored in a Dropbox, stored in, I'm not exactly sure all the sync that they have, but then when you update something, it'll update in here. Right now, if you want to update something, you basically have to make a whole new map. You can't just like update a data set, which you can do in ArcGIS Online. You can just like update a data set and update it and keep sort of the map visualization. Right. Are you guys using ArcGIS Online at all at work yet?
We have it set up, but we haven't actually got to it yet.
Okay, sad. So you should check out the next user group meeting. We're gonna have somebody from Esri go through like a process of setting up your organization page and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So does anybody have any questions on the YouTube link before we get out of the whole CartoDB session here?
Not right now.
I have a problem on this page. We'll fix that later. So let's go to quick, basic, straight JavaScript web map. We go here. We're going to create a full screen web map and add just a base map, layer control. We're going to try and recreate a similar trail map to the one we made earlier in CartoDB. Add some pop-ups, highlighting, search. You can also go, if you're familiar with QGIS, do you guys use QGIS at all? It's like a free open source alternative to ArcMap. There's a plugin for QGIS which will take all your layers and export it into a web map that you can then put up on a file server, on a web server somewhere. And there's an example of that in that folder that you downloaded under QGIS. there's a map there, which I'll show you in a little bit. But if you go over to the basic leaflet trail map, this is just a basic web map. And what this is, if you go into the folder that you downloaded into map, so that's the web map intro map, we'll open this in Notepad++, or you can use Atom, or you can even just use Notepad. But so this is rendering this map here. And you're the only ones to be following this right along. If you have this sort of like open both pages, open both windows, maybe be the easiest way. But a map is basically, it's just basically HTML page. So you have your header, which loads any CSS or any styling to the map. Sometimes you add your JavaScript in the top, sometimes in the footer, but I often add it just in the header. You have to style the map ID. It's not in the leaflet style sheet. The only thing we're loading is the leaflet style sheet, leaflet JavaScript, and we're loading one plugin, which is the search plugin, which is the second one.
Server. Is it? Sorry, you're saying the one search is at the server.online?
Where are you at? Now scroll up to the top. So yeah, you're going ahead. I'm still in the head of the document.
Sorry, I was
here.
like trying to find the words that you were like.
No. So if you start at the very top here,
Okay. Okay, yeah. I see it.
the only things we're adding, and these are stored in your folder that you downloaded, is a leaflet, which is just a JavaScript web mapping library or JavaScript library.
Yeah.
We're adding this search plugin, which is the plugin for leaflet, and then we're styling the map div with the ID map to be full screen. So basically 100% width, and then positioning it. And then we're loading our, this is kind of goofy, I don't normally do this, but in order for the map to work in this way, we're loading the GeoJSON file, which is basically just a web map friendly version of shapefile. We're loading that in this goofy way, but where is it? Trails. It's basically just a GeoJSON file. It's this file, but instead of taking the raw data, you add a variable in front of it, which if I open this with Notepad, all I added was this var trail data equals. Basically, that allows you to work offline in this sort of file setting that we're doing here. Otherwise, you'd have to load it with a couple different plugins. You can use Omnivore plugin or Ajax plugin. We'll get into that today. Anyway, so basically, you have, if you go down the way the HTML page works, and same with JavaScript, it goes from top to bottom, so it reads as you're going down. It follows those instructions. So it's loaded all this stuff. You basically have to create a map div, which is this div ID equals map, and then the map is actually in the script. So you have to call the map using this var map equals map. There's map options, which you can see that on the leaflet docs. You have to set a view for the map, so lat long.
Is that like the central point?
Yeah, the central point and the zoom level. So again, back to those, 0 would be all the way zoomed out. 22 would be all the way zoomed in, something like that. These are the map tiles, these next two things. So there's a bunch of free map tile services out there. Esri has a bunch of them. Anything that's on ArcGIS Online, you can use it like in any web mapping map. Mapbox also has a bunch of free web maps out there. I'm loading the topo map from Esri and the ortho map from Mapbox, which is actually the same as the Esri map tiles, strangely enough. But it seems to load faster. And then you can add one of those to the map. So this just basically loads them. And then you can add one to the map. So if you want to, you can change this, for example, this topo.add to map, you could change that to ortho. So we'll do that now. So right now, again, we just have this topo map. So I'm right here in this add a base map to the map.
Yeah.
If you change that, instead of topo map, if you just change that to this other variable, this ortho,
So just delete the word.
topo, delete the word topo map,
Yeah.
and then add ortho, and you save that, and you go over here and you refresh your page.
How? Okay, so I haven't figured out how to pull it up onto.
So yeah, go to your file, back here, go to web app intro, and then right click on that. Or no, go to map, and right click on that and open with
Something.
Firefox or Chrome or whatever. Actually, it should just open fine. Yeah, just open Firefox. And refresh the page.
We should have one.
Let's see what we did. So go back into your index, to make that like over here.
What do
Can I do
you,
that?
what do you mean?
Like,
Oh, okay.
and then go to your notepad one.
I
And then
changed-
go over there.
Okay.
And then,
I changed, is that
oh
what I'm
yeah, so
supposed to do?
delete that map.
Uh,
You see the variables that, in JavaScript, you have these variables.
mhm.
So you can name these whatever you want.
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah.
Um,
So before you had topo map then.
yeah, topo map, this one's just ortho. You can name them whatever.
Okay.
And then you also have the layer control there, so you could switch between them, ortho, topo. This just has whatever map is going to be added. Now, you can also use Leaflet or other map libraries to just load like images. So if you deleted that altogether, it'll still load. Like let's say you had some image here that you wanted to have zoom in and out on. It'll still load, it just won't load a base map
Okay.
immediately on startup. But now we've got a base map loaded. Let's add our layers. So again, we added in this sort of goofy way that we wouldn't always normally do. You can look on examples on our website for how to actually load a map, load GeoJSON normally. But we've loaded our data up here. So if we, and to comment out, so basically tell JavaScript or the web or the client to not execute code, you can either use these double backslashes or you can use this backslash asterisk.
Okay, yeah.
So let's delete those right under, there's like 2 sections of those under our trail of adding vector layers. There's this section here.
The one with the 2 slashes in the middle.
There's a backslash and an asterisk. Basically, the 2 slashes is one line and the backslash asterisk is a
Okay,
multi-line.
so basically if you if you, like you were capturing that area.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
save that. And now if you reload our page, something's
Okay.
wrong.
Yeah.
And there,
Yeah.
you get the trails loaded.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you hover over those, you can see that it changes like a hand or whatever, but nothing happens. Same kind of thing with CartoDB. We didn't set up any pop-ups or anything.
Okay.
But, and if you look up here, so if we look at the code, all we said was we created a variable called trails, and we're using this l.geojson. We're saying we want that trail data, which again, this trail data comes from here. So we loaded that above.
Mm-hmm.
And we're fitting the map to the extent of the trail data with this map fit bounds trail. Again, Leaflet has it well documented on their site. And then we're adding to this layer control, which is up here, layer control. We added our base map layers. Now we're just adding this add overlay, which again, this is just a function in Leaflet. And then trails is a variable name, and we're calling it trails here. So now we have our trails up here in the legend. Now, if you wanted to just do this real simply, you could, again, load these files, and you can even load the GeoJSON files in QGIS. And there's a QGIS to web plugin. And if you go to your folder and you open up QGIS and you open up that index folder with Firefox or Chrome, it'll export something automatically, create a web map for you. You can't do, again, it's kind of like CartoDB, like you can only adjust certain things in their plugin, but it automatically changed the data to automatically added these pop-ups. It added this legend stuff up here. It just copies whatever style, it tries to copy whatever style you had in QGIS. I actually had like a dash on here, but it didn't bring that through. But it's pretty cool, and it kind of gives you, if you just want to start playing around with web maps, you can export it, then look at the index file and see how they did things, and see if you would do things. They kind of do things a little bit differently than I would, but you can kind of play around and see how they do it and whatever. Now, if you go back to our map, where is it? Now go ahead and add those comments back in, that / star and then * /. So / star * /. So just comment out those 3 lines. And then save that, and then you're going to delete the comments under let's add some interaction to the trail layer.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a / star there, and then all the way at the bottom of the page, there's another *
Yeah.
Delete those out and save that. This is just adding like highlight, pop up, a search. Then if we refresh the page, let's go back to our topo map. We've now added this like dash line. It highlights them when you click on them, has this pop up. You can even search the park name. No, let's search. Zaleski. I'm not going to go in detail into each one of these different features, but let you guys can do that on your own. Sort of like generally, again, you can style this stuff however you want. So we created a style here in the top. You create functions to do these different highlight, reset highlight, zoom to feature. We're adding the data here again, but we're saying we're going to style it using this styling up here on each feature, which is basically like iterates a function on all the layers that you've added. Do this. Again, fitting the bounds of the map to that. And this is just the plugin that we added at the top. So again, much more complicated than doing a CartoDB map.
Yes.
But you have a map that's, you're not, the only server you're really relying on is your whatever web server, but you could put this on GitHub or whatever and run it for free. Yeah. All the data is stored along with the files. They're all rendered straight in the browser. And you have the ability to search the data, so you can interact with the data to some degree without using like a GIS server or whatever. And you can even do things like, you can do some spatial queries in here using some other plugins. And there's a lot of advanced maps that use this kind of these kind of features. Do we have any comments on the YouTube page? Do we have any viewers left on the YouTube page? Did I put everybody to sleep?
Still 5 there.
Wow.
Any comments from the YouTubers out there?
Someone has a blurry screen, but that was a while ago. Probably internet connection thing.
Yeah, probably. If you go back to our presentation, again, this is the QGIS plugin map. Again, I don't know why it zooms out all the way out there, but which is pretty cool. You can just automatically export that. And what you would do is, like, let's say you had a GitHub page, or everybody almost has a website, city has a website or whatever. You would just take this QGIS folder here, which is, it does have a real long name. I shortened it to QGIS. And you just upload that folder to your website using FTP or whatever servers that you use for that. And then that index page would be live on your website. It would work, which is pretty cool. But some of the OVRDC maps gets into some advanced mapping. We have some custom CSS that we've done to change these sort of curved, change the pop-up styling, which is like these rounded edges and stuff. We have a bunch of map plugins that we use. We're messing around with, basically, instead of rendering, let's go to this map here. One feature that if you start getting into this web mapping, is you're gonna like this. If you right click inspect element, you can figure out what's going on in that web page for the most part. And again, at the beginning, I said there's a bunch of different ways you can draw stuff in HTML. The way that Leaflet does it is it uses this SVG, and these are just little SVG elements that are drawn on the map using the XY coordinates that are in the file. But if you have a lot of features, like say a parcel layer or something for like a county, it's going to get bogged down trying to draw all that stuff. So one way we've been messing around with a little bit is using these, again, for like more than we're going to get into today, but using just another way to draw them using these GeoJSON tiles, and again, advanced map interaction. So this is, let's see if this is just completely broken here. I did something wrong maybe. Here we go. This is this basic map template that we've been messing around with. This is the search bar up here, this sidebar, full screen, full extent, and the location. And then we added these little images to the base map so you can see what you're doing. And then this is that same map but loaded into this sort of template that we've been messing around with here. And so some cool, it's not going to show these because these are on the server. Go to this map online. Where is it? Where's Trails? So one of the things you can do is anything that for some reason the images aren't loading, of course. But as you can update, this data over here by clicking on these features. And really anything you can do in HTML, you can do, in a web map. And these, the parks in this example, our example live on the web here is actually loaded with a little bit differently using these GeoJSON tiles, but it just means that it loads a little bit quicker and the interaction is a little bit faster. But there you go. Web map, speed web mapping 101. And again, why would you use this if, like, say you already have ArcGIS Line account? Why would you want to use this? Well, we have ArcGIS Line accounts. Yeah. We hardly ever make maps on there. kind of once you, but I think it's, once you've chosen a certain route to go, you end up just doing everything that way. Yeah, we could easily be making all our maps on ArcGIS Online. You'd have to watch the credits on that. We did accidentally use all of our credits.
Yes. In one day.
In 1 hour.
Yeah, and you're-
So the nice thing about doing something like this is, there's no credits, there's no, it's just, we already are paying our fee for our website hosting, so there's no like extra fees involved.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I like it. And the other thing too is you can, so with that Wellston, with our Wellston infrastructure viewer, because we already have the website and because there's already tools that you have to like manage that website and whatever, you can easily like password protect a set of folders like that. So that Wellston, we have a password on that. So, not everybody can just go on and view that. Now, maybe some people wouldn't care about that, but if you had a map that you had, do that in ArcGIS Online is actually pretty complicated because they have to be a named user and blah, blah, blah. If you're on CartoDB, you have to have a paid account to have a password on there. But if you already have a web, if you already have a web server that's hosting your website and you have the ability to password protect pages, then, which most hosting companies are going to allow you to do that, then you can easily protect a web map. So, I don't know.
Someone asked if you could say a little bit about the panel below the search bar.
The panel below the search bar? You mean this? So there's a bunch of, like I said, if you go to Leaflet, if you go to the Leaflet homepage, these are the references for all the different things you might want to do in Leaflet. What's nice is that that CartoDB, their backend runs on Leaflet. So once you learn Leaflet, you can easily like do a CartoDB map just with a little bit of extra learning involved, but not much. If you go to this plugins page, there's a ton of plugins in Leaflet, which is another cool thing. The Leaflet's idea is that have like a real small JavaScript library, and then any like other additions is just like a plugin. What we're using for this sidebar here is this plugin called Leaflet Sidebar. It's in here somewhere. We'll just go find it. Leaflet Sidebar. So some examples. He has this. We're just using this modified Leaflet Sidebar. So if you go back to our here, let's see, go to work. We've set up our template so that it has these different div IDs within the sidebar, so you can update all these depending on with different actions on the map. If you wanted to update this section, you'd update this part of the HTML. If you want to update this section, et cetera, et cetera. But again, this is just a plugin that we've downloaded. So pretty straightforward on that. Any other questions from the map view?
Does it show you who's there? Like what company?
Well, no, just if people comment who said it there.
Yeah, I think Adams.
He did join. I told him to.
I think Adams County was watching, and I think the guys over Buckeye Hills are watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thanks for coming out.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Dedication.
Braving the. Now you can play and make all kinds of visual animated maps all you want.
It's gonna be fun to try.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only time I've actually really used that animated map is just for like a background on a web page that like makes a cool animation.
Oh yeah.
Not actually for any analytical purpose at all, but I did see one like a crime map or something that was like animated as you. It was like a story map and a crime map, and it would populate.
Cool.
That's a good idea.
but again, there's so many examples out there and different things you could do. But yeah, like say you know, if you guys wanted to replace your 64-second with like a leaflet version,
Mhm.
you know, down the road or something, you could easily do that.
Right, and then everybody could just access it on their
Right.
phones or whatever.
But again, it'd just be like a viewer. Now you can do server side with Leaflet, because Leaflet is just a JavaScript language. You can access data however you want. You know, like if you had a GIS server running and you wanted to have the ability to interact with that, you could do that too as well. But yeah. Again, we're going to do our next user group meeting is going to be on ArcGIS Online, setting up for organizations, which will be in 3 months. We're going to be sending info about that soon. And if anybody has any questions about web mapping or CartoDB, they can email me via the website contact form. It goes to me. So.